Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk, and today, as we are airing, is Saturday, September 24th, and today we are talking about some of the upcoming celebrations, commemorations, and particular history and, of course, representation of it being explored as part of Tom Lea Month coming up this year. You can, of course, find us on air, online, live streaming on KTSMradio.com, and with full video on the El Paso History Radio Facebook page, as well as the YouTube channel, as of course over on some of our partner pages, including Remember in El Paso When. And this is, of course, the place where we say Texas history begins in El Paso. We do have a history moment today at the top of hour 2 from documentary filmmaker Jackson Polk. But joining us here in studio today, our guests today are Holly Cobb, the executive director, and Adair Margo, founder of the Tom Lea Institute. Thank you both very much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Andrew. It's great to be here.
Very much appreciating having you all on to talk about this, because Tom Lea Month, of course, October, pretty much every year, ever since I can remember anyway, has been quite the marked celebration and set of events going on here in town. But there's always, I find, someone who may not have heard of even something very, as momentous and markable as it is this every year, and of course the many works and parts of what Tom Lea has done for that person out there, I'm sure longtime listeners of our show are very familiar, but for that person out there that has never heard of this concept, idea, what is Tom Lea Month?
Okay. One thing I will say, due to the wisdom of our executive director, Holly Cobb, it's no longer Tom Lea Month. It's Tom Lea Celebration.
Oh, that is true.
It's not so jam-packed, but kind of spread out, which is nice. But the whole concept was based on, it started for Tom Lea's Centennial in 2007. And Tom Lea was a man from our community who accomplished what I don't know anybody else has anywhere, as both, as an illustrator, as a muralist who did New Deal murals, as a World War II war correspondent, the most noted during World War II, in these large spreads of Life magazine that brought World War II to people. He was a novelist. He illustrated his own novels. He lived in the whole world, not in the art or literary world. So he is a great person to explore the world, but also he was nourished by El Paso. So it's a wonderful way to learn more about our own binational, bilingual community, as well as explore the world through his eyes.
So that's kind of the purpose and really everything that you all talk about during, again, this more than a month now, to correct myself as well here, is that all of the ways that he interpreted and showed through his artwork here, and as you have marking this year of a very particular theme of his work that y'all are going to be exploring, right?
Yes, that's correct. It's really focusing on Tom Lea's time in China as an artist correspondent. He was there for a month and recorded both the war as well as the countryside and the culture. And so we have examples of both his work art as well as his cultural art of China. And the reason we decided to explore China this year was because there is so much going on in the news about China, and we wanted to highlight Tom Lea's perception of China, his experience, plus our own community's experience with the Chinese people who came from both Mexico as a gateway into the United States, as well as the San Francisco Bay Area and the Gold Rush era. And so basically, I've learned a lot just in putting together this program myself, and that we have a wealth of experts on China and the Chinese people and the Chinese history that are going to be doing wonderful presentations for the Tom Lea Celebration. And we have a lot to learn from them and their experience from the standpoint of immigration. So it's going to be a very interesting time on this Tom Lea Month, Tom Lea Celebration. We're all adjusting, so anyway, we're excited about it and excited to share the background of some of the events that we're doing.
It's an interesting way you put that here about the both impact on the news not on it here, because it's not just here's what Tom Lea did, here's what was happening at that point in time, but kind of connecting it, it sounds like, to perspectives on what's going on now. So not just what happened then, what was put out then, his work, his art, and everything that he did there, but what through the lens of the modern and how we deal with things now, does that reflect and, even, prismatically show more angles on it than we may even consider from our own solely modern or solely historical standpoint.
Right. Yeah.
That's right. He is, he was based here, but he really communicated internationally and experienced, the world and wrote about it in a way that connected it to our region. Like the small man in a vast and wondrous world. When he got to China, it resonated with him to see these small people in a vast and wondrous world, because we live in one here in El Paso. A different environment, but still that concept, which he always loved with the Sung masters.
And of course, that is the subtitle of the theme for this year. Again, we've got the folder here, and that is Tom Lea, Small Man in a Vast and Wondrous World, Tom Lea's China. And that is the theme, and the artwork, that is the primary focus on it here. We'll pop that up on screen for those that want to see it as well. The one that you have on the front, again, of the folio there is showing I guess you could call a pastoral scene shown in rural China at that point in time. And even just thinking about what that point in time was here, because, some of the, again, modern interpretations, some of the modern works, and the way we think about it, increasingly urbanized kind of, that part of Eastern Asia, this was very much a different realm, different scape, and very different politics at that point in time, including, of course, the war, as you referred to there.
Yes, and we're doing a wonderful event at the Centennial Museum that Daniel Carey Whalen will tell us a little more about as the director. But we have Dr. Joshua Fan, who is an expert on the Civil War eras in China, and we'll be doing a presentation about what the Chinese thought of the Americans being in China and what was actually going on. They were warring among themselves as well as they were involved with World War II as well. And so he's going to use Tom Lea's World War II art to illustrate his talk. And then we're going to have a martial arts demonstration and refreshments. So our events tend to be robust. You're not just going to go and hear a lecture. It's actually going to be a lot more than that. And we're, excited about it. And it's a lot of fun to put these events together, too.
Yeah, and especially when you have someone like Tom Lea, you talk about this pastoral scene that's on our cover. But he also documented Allied troops, and he documented war. And so when people look at a picture of his and say, well, he was sentimental, showing a romanticized view of China, he saw both. He actually saw it all. And you explore that through his work, and what a relief it was for him. He was in Chongqing, so he did show urban China and the bustle and the smells and everything. He described it. But also Henry Luce, his boss, the publisher of Life magazine, who had been brought up in China as a missionary kid, knew that Tom Lea and Teddy White at the same time was there, and he told Teddy White, ask Tom Lea to go do some pastoral scenes of China, because he wanted to see what it looked like since he had grown up there. So that's how we have these very beautiful, and Tom Lea wrote about it in such a beautiful way, just after describing the stink and the wet and the hustle and bustle and being crammed into this hostel for reporters. He was really a reporter. So when you talk about interpretation, the thing about Tom Lea, it's never like his own invention of what he thought it was. It was it's selecting and organizing what he saw in a way that it can communicate to us in a very real way, and something that nature, if we were there, we could never see ourselves, but he shows it to us.
I think that particularly, and again, we got the front of the folio there is both, maybe a little bit romantic. It's got some very soft lighting, but also like on the face of the man that is at the foreground there, a very, almost a weather carved face there, and very,
Old Man China. That's the name of it, Old Man China, and the multi-generations, tilling the soil. Yeah.
And one thing I want to reconcile here is that because it's a tendency for a lot of people to kind of silo different eras of history, to think that World War II happened in its own kind of boundaries. and everything was affected by World War II, as often is talked about here, with that other things going on that they didn't have a lot of interaction here, because it's, tempting to think here that, sure, we know everything about it and there could not be any further interconnections, like when we talk about the development of Southwest here, or the interactions that like Napoleon had in terms of the Louisiana Purchase and things like that extracontinentally. But in this case, what we're talking about here is that, yes, this was right about the same time, in the same time period as probably one of Tom Lea's, at least most famous works in my mind here, of that whole 1,000-yard stare of what was going there. Yeah, exactly, what was going on there. And that is one of the ones that I see shared most often, and one of his works that I instantly recognize every time it is. And we're talking about the same time period that he is doing this.
This was his third tour during where he did 4, and then China, it was going across the globe with the Air Transport Command, documenting Allied troops in different parts of the world. But the very next one, he chose to land with the 7th Marines on the island of Peleliu, one of the bloodiest battles of World War II.
So that's a bit of what we're going to be exploring here on this, and you have quite the rich calendar of events here that, again, extending more than a month here, but really kicking off in October here, right?
Right, yeah, we're going to be having at least one event a week so that people can mark it on their calendars and not get overwhelmed. And they're all very unique events, like the Double Ninth Hike, where we're going to hike up into McKelligan Canyon. And it's not a real rigorous hike, but there's a little cave up there at the end of the canyon. And we're going to be celebrating the Double Ninth Festival, which is a celebration of ancestors in China. And we're going to be having chrysanthemum cake, which will be authentic homemade cake that they use during that celebration. And we'll be making little lanterns that we won't be releasing them. I don't think the state park would appreciate that.
Fair enough.
But we be making them and people can take them home. So we have events that really span the whole gamut of things. It's not just talks or presentations. There are all kinds of things. There's a tea tasting going on. So it's pretty exciting.
And again, just to kind of show the span of it here, I'm not even going to be able to put it all on screen at once here. The full calendar of events that you all have going on as part of this. Again, extensive would be an understatement there, I feel, as well.
Right. One thing I just want to mention here, Tom Lea said one time, he said, my work's not about me. It's about you, because look what you can see and do and experience in this marvelous life. So I really commend Holly on, creating these robust events where we can experience things and be with Chinese in our own community and learn things that we don't know are really right across the street or just a few miles from us.
Absolutely. So a lot of details that we'll go into here, including about those connections with the local community and the local Chinese community, and a whole lot more. But we got to end up taking that first break of the hour here right now. Again, that's Adair Margo, also joining us here in studio, Holly Cobb, respectively, the founder and executive director of the Tom Lea Institute, talking about the Tom Lea Celebration, that is, and to correct myself a little bit further, starting technically before October, but really getting underway in October, but extending far beyond that as well, as we're moving from the Tom Lea month of people may be familiar with, to the whole concept of the Tom Lea Celebration here. So taking that first break of the hour, coming back, we will talk further about what is coming up, some of the events, including what, of course, is going to be going on at the Centennial Museum here, speaking with Dana Carey Whalen. So stay tuned for more here on the El Paso History Radio Show, here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show, streaming on Facebook, where you can find archived radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano, and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC 7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on youtube.com. You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Baney, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archive pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexico.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. We are, of course, the El Paso History Radio Show on Facebook. You can go there for our weekly promo announcements on the topics of the program each week, as well as our YouTube channel, youtube.com/El Paso History TV, where you can find the El Paso Gold DVDs from Capstone Productions, covering more than the last 20 years of history production here in town, fully uploaded and free for your viewing pleasure, plus the 20 recent segments of our ABC 7 TV series from El Paso History TV. Also a reminder to support some of our advertisers. Pepe's Restaurant in Canutillo. It was open for in-house dining, 6761 Doniphan Drive. You can call Pepe's at 877-2152. That's 915-877-2152. Home of the Juan and only margarita and the continuing living tradition of the old Griggs recipes. Basically the exact same. Had some family over there last week, actually, who hadn't been in town for a few years, coming in town for some family business, and they would have, you blindfold them, and they would have been saying that, yes, those are exactly what Griggs tasted like, and they were having quite the nostalgia about it here. But we are joined here again in studio by Adair Margo, the founder, and Holly Cobb, executive director for the Tom Lea Institute, and also joining us by phone right now, we do have Daniel Carey Whalen, director of the Centennial Museum and Chihuahuan Desert Gardens. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me.
So we were talking a little bit in the first segment about the event that we have coming up there because, as again, part of the Tom Lea celebrations, and this one starting again in October here, we're going to have a very interesting event that, Holly, you were mentioning here a little bit going on at the Centennial Museum here. So what are you looking forward to there, Daniel?
Well, we're looking forward to have Utah professor Dr. Josh Fan. He is the inaugural Tom Lea Fellow, and so he's going to be giving a presentation on Tom Lea's China, the history, the land, and the people in his paintings. And once again, we're looking forward to partnering with the Tom Lea Institute. I think we've done something with Tom Lea every year that sometimes more than others, and so we definitely usually have an event here. So we're really excited to be having this event here at the Centennial Museum on October 20th.
Right. So towards the end of the month here, and it's going to include, as again you were describing, Holly and Adair, quite a lot going. A very dynamic event, right?
Right. Yeah, it's going to be great because again we'll have martial arts demonstration and some light hors d'oeuvres and so forth, and then we're also going to have one of Tom Lea's rarely seen original paintings on display as well. And Adair, you want to tell them a little bit about that?
Right, it's one of the paintings he did when he left Chongqing. Henry Luce had asked him to go out and paint the countryside, and so it's of the Yangtze River. It's called Dream of a Fair River, Yangtze.
And so that one will be on display there, physically present here, because, right. I mean, there have been, of course, many prints, many ways people can see the actual artwork and see the representations of it, but seeing the original, that's kind of special, even in this kind of circumstance, right?
Very, very special. And the thing about Tom Lea's work, it's mainly in private collections. And there was a Dr. Homan in El Paso who proudly kept a scrapbook of Tom Lea's work all during the war. And he ended up with this painting. He is now dead. His daughter is dead, but his granddaughter owns it. And so she's loaned us the painting for this Tom Lea month.
Fantastic. So
Tom Lea Celebration.
Yeah, I know.
Again, it sticks. It was a catchy phrase, and I'm going to have to do the change myself here for Tom Lea Celebration. But again, October is a focus on it here. So, Daniel, again, the event that is coming up there on October, in the late October, as you were mentioning there, I mean, you're going to have a lot going on your actual grounds there, right?
Yes, no, we're excited that that we're really packing it in with a lecture and then the martial arts demonstration. As Holly was mentioning, will be outside in our Jubilee Plaza in front of the Centennial Museum, and yes, and then having this painting here. It's really. Just a sneak peek. We're going to have it. We're going to try to have it here for a few days in total to get people excited about the event. But it's kind of a one night only type thing. So if you want to see this painting in person, it's best to come to the event on the 20th, on the evening of the 20th.
Again, that's Daniel Carey Whalen, director of the Centennial Museum and Chihuahuan Desert Gardens. Again, also joining us here in studio are Adair Margo and Holly Cobb, the founder and executive director, respectively, of the Tom Lea Institute, talking more about those upcoming events and talking a little bit further with Daniel here after this next break. So stay tuned. More here on the El Paso History Radio Show here in News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show, streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Given-Baney, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archive pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC 7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on YouTube.com.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Some other things going on that we'll be talking about going on in and around the region. Of course, from our partners there at Celebration of Our Mountains. Find them at celebrationofourmountains.org or just search Celebration of Our Mountains on your favorite search engine and you will probably find them here. Quite the schedule of events coming up here, including some of the ones that they are also marking going on with these celebrations for Tom Lea. Again, the expanded Tom Lea month. People may be familiar with that phrase, going well beyond that here, including that double ninth hike and a lot of other events going on both in, around, and throughout the region here, indoors and outdoors. So check it out, celebrationofourmountains.org for this and a whole lot more. But again, joining us here in studio, of course, we do have Adair Margo, the founder, and Holly Cobb, the executive director of the Tom Lea Institute, and talking about everything going on for Tom Lea's, again, extended celebration. And of course, we also have Daniel Carey Whalen, the director of the Centennial Museum in Chihuahuan Desert Gardens, for one of that upcoming events here. Again, talking about the one that's going to be happening on October 20th, specifically at that location here. And we were talking a little bit during the break about the significance of not just the event and what's going to be marked there and the actual artwork that's going to be on display there, but of the location itself and kind of the connection that this exemplifies. Because as much as we talked about kind of the selection of the theme, why focus on that at this point here, it's also pointing out some of the connections that exist in our area and in our region with that, other parts and throughout the continent of Asia. And again, the UTEP campus itself is kind of emblematic of that entire concept and idea here. So it's very appropriate to be holding an event like this there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so very much so.
All right. So, Dan, you were talking a little bit about, of course, the connections between not even just the campus, but also specifically of the Centennial Museum with Tom Lea, including some of his, already existing artwork there beyond what's going to be specially displayed there during this event, right?
Right, that's correct. So, yeah, we have a long relationship with the Centennial Museum does with Tom Lea and the Tom Lea Institute. In fact, so we're the oldest museum in El Paso, 1936.
Mm-hmm.
We're the centennial. People often ask, what's the centennial of the Centennial Museum? It's the centennial of the Texas Revolution. So back in 1936, there was all of these celebrations celebrating the Texas Revolution in 1836. And we, the people of El Paso, got together and said, well, if we're going to celebrate this centennial, we want a museum. We don't have a museum. We want to build a museum. And so it was really a partnership between the city of El Paso, the people of El Paso, and the university, now UTEP, to make this happen. And Tom Lea was commissioned to produce a lintel. So over the door of the front door, so looking down over this martial arts display we're going to have on the 20th, is from my understanding, it's Tom Lea's only lintel that he produced, a three-dimensional. He did the sketch for it, and then another artist created it, and Adair can correct or fill in more information on that. But it's on Cabeza de Vaca, and it will be overlooking this display of martial arts on the 20th. Did I get that right, Adair?
Yes, he did do the drawing. In fact, the drawing is right across the street at the History Museum in Special Collections with Claudia Rivers. So, and Abby.
Yeah.
So of course, he was a well-known artist from here, and he lived in a Trost home. Trost was the architect of the campus.
Right, of course.
I don't know particularly of that one building, but Tom Lea did do that lintel, and it's from my understanding, it's cast concrete, but
oh wow, okay,
rather than carved.
Okay.
But I believe so. But I'm not. I know he did the drawing for it, for the design for it.
Yeah, there were two other lentils, but that he did that are in El Paso. They're not quite as spectacular as the Cabeza de Vaca one. It's more three-dimensional, but there is an owl and bee relief on the side of the library, and he was commissioned to do that for the library. Of course, the owl being knowledge from books, and the bee being, getting nectar or being nourished by books. And then there's also Pasaron por aquí, the lentil that is actually hard to find on the International Museum. And it's not nearly as dimensional, but it's there, and it has three hats on it, commemorating the three distinct types of people who came through the region, which would be the Indian headdress and the conquistador helmet, and then also the cowboy hat. And I just saw it the other day.
It's on the side entrance. Yeah. It used to be where you went into the education when the International Museum of Art was our El Paso Museum of Art, and they added wings in order to receive the Crest collection, and that's when they built those wings. And Tom Lea again was asked to create a relief.
Well, Daniel, you all have sort of an Asian artifacts collection there at the museum, right?
Yes. Yeah, well, and that I wanted to say that we have this connection with Tom Lea, the Tom Lea Institute, but we definitely have a connection to this year's theme. In our collections, we have an archaeological dig that was done in downtown. It was done in the 1980s. It was it's the parking lot next to right there on San Jacinto Plaza, and that's where the main Chinese community, that was kind of the heart of the early Chinatown in El Paso. And El Paso had the largest Chinese community in Texas until like the 1930s or something. So fairly late. And we forget. We always think of westward expansion. Well, the railroad came first from the west. It came from the West Coast. The Chinese, of course, were the primary builders of it. And so we had this large Chinese community here. And when NMSU did a dig down there in the 1980s before they were putting in the parking garage there next to the Cortez building, the Cortez parking garage, they excavated and found all these amazing artifacts. And so if you go to our third floor, you can see some of the artifacts there, some, great intact soy bottles, little opium pipes. I mean, the good and the bad, everything that was part of that community, we have that on display. So we're really excited specifically about this Chinese theme this year because it goes so well with our collection. And then, of course, as we were talking about on the break, we have, China's neighbor to the south. One of China's neighbors to the south is the Kingdom of Bhutan, and we have this long-standing tradition. The Centennial Museum is built in the style of Bhutanese architecture that you can see all over our campus, and so we have this relationship with the Kingdom of Bhutan, and we actually oversee here at the museum the Lakong, which is the Bhutanese temple that's at the center of campus, and we have that open weekly. Wednesdays from 11 to 1, and people can check it out. It's a beautiful, the architecture, the painting, the art on the inside of there is just amazing. And so it's great that we have this Asian connection here with this Bhutanese architecture here at UTEP.
Again, that's Daniel Carey Whalen, the director for the, Centennial Museum and Chihuahuan Desert Gardens, talking to us about some of the things that are going to be coming up here with, of course, the Tom Lea Celebration. Again, the event that we're going to be having there, again, at the Centennial Museum itself on the UTEP campus will be happening October 20th and featuring a lot of different, very dynamic event.
And you can sign up for the event, actually, if you go to tomlea.com, and we have basically Eventbrite links that sign you up, and that way you can make sure you get a seat, because a lot of times our events are at capacity, and that way you'll also be getting notifications and more details about the event. Also, any event that we have is at our website.
Absolutely here. And again, that's Holly Cobb, and also joining us here in studio, Adair Margo, here, the founder, and then Holly is the executive director of the Tom Lea Institute. One more thing you wanted to add,
Well,
Adair?
I wanted to add how delighted we are. My husband and I established this Tom Lea Fellowship at UTEP, and so often people thought it was a fellowship only about him. Tom Lea's art is not about him. It's about what's out there. And so we're thrilled that Joshua Fan, he's the first, I believe, a professor who has accessed the resources of that fellowship to study China. I mean, it's the things you can explore, the world you can explore, but being rooted with someone who was here locally, tethered here, it's really extraordinary and shows just how global a place we really are.
Absolutely here. So we got to take that next break now. We're going to be saying bye to Daniel. So Daniel, again, thank you very much for talking with us about some of the aspects that you all are going to be having up with these upcoming celebrations.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's always great to be on the show, and it's always great to talk with you, Adair and Holly, so appreciate it.
All right.
We appreciate you, Daniel.
Very much.
All right,
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot there, Daniel. We'll be continuing on here, wrapping up this hour and getting into more discussions about the many things going on again for the Tom Lea Celebration. The expanded Tom Lea Month is, I think, the way I'm going to call it for now, as people are getting used to the idea as well. So stay tuned for more here on the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show, streaming on Facebook, where you can find archived radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano, and see their website at missiondelray.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Donovan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the Juan and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Donovan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on youtube.com. You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing live in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. Of course, some of our other partners in talking about different aspects of El Paso's history. Make sure to go and check out Rick Kern's music podcast, Talk and Rock Radio. Find it at talkandrockradio.com. That's A-N-D spelled out, talkandrockradio.com. Doing a lot of different memoirs in a different way, and a lot of his own personal experience as well with some of El Paso's early music history, as well as you might have recognized his production of the Border Legends tour that I got to be a part of as well for many years here. So again, talkandrockradio.com is where you can find that here. But in the meantime, as we're getting close to closing out of hour one of the program, still joined here in studio by Holly Cobb and Adair Margo with the Tom Lea Institute, talking about everything going on for the Tom Lea Celebration, extensively much expanded Tom Lea Month, the concept people may be familiar with. And we were mentioning there at the end of last segment about the Tom Lea Fellows here and how there's going to be some presentations happening as part of, again, that event happening on October 20th at the Centennial Museum. But there's other Tom Lea Fellows that are going to be doing further presentations, right?
Yeah, this is very exciting because we have both an undergraduate and a graduate student who have received the fellowship awarded by a committee at UTEP. And it's exciting because they're both doing very different presentations about how Tom Lea has inspired them. One of them is doing a music, prose, and poetry presentation based on the art of Tom Lea. And the other one is connecting President Bush's paintings of Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans with Tom Lea's war art, particularly. He did a lot of portraits for World War II, and so she's going to make a connection between those two things, which should be very fascinating. I can't wait to see both of them, and they'll both be at the same time at UTEP, and we'll have a reception afterwards and so forth.
Excellent. So more of that kind of work, and again with the actual fellowship and the part of the foundation for it there as well. But there's one event that I want to make sure we get to this hour as well, because yes, the overall theme here of Tom Lea's China, but also the pre-text of it here, the small man in a vast and wondrous world here, and that's part of also why you're going to be talking about one other particular individual that otherwise may seem kind of incongruous with the overall China theme, right? Benito Juarez, right?
Yes, we are going to be doing a program with Jose Mario Sanchez Soledad from Juarez, a wonderful historian and opera singer, who will do a presentation on Benito Juarez. And we have them coincide, on this Saturday. These are different events,
right.
But it's the same person, because he's a giant, although he was 4'6", and our neighboring city is named after him. He lived in Ciudad Juarez. It was Paso del Norte during the French intervention,
right.
and actually dealt with issues of the chamizal, the flooding of the river, the natural boundary between Mexico and the United States, creating a border dispute. Whose land is this that wasn't settled for almost 100 years? So that is going to the 12 Travelers. Of course, all this is integrated because the 12 Travelers, that is their project. But John Hauser, who started the 12 Travelers Memorial of the Southwest, was inspired by Tom Lea's the calendar of 12 Travelers through the Pass of the North, but wanting to imbue Tom Lea's illustrations with life by making them three-dimensional in sculptural form, bronze. So there's going to be an event at the Chamizal with the 12 Travelers, and then with the Tom Lea Institute at the Mexican consulate. And they just happened to coincide when we were dedicating the anniversary of September 25th is when Lopez Mateos and President Lyndon B. Johnson shook hands in the middle of the International Bridge to affirm the treaty. So the date was chosen, and we wanted to help reinforce that with our own program at the Mexican consulate.
Well, Tom Lea did a portrait of Benito Juarez, and it was commissioned by the Pan American Roundtable, and the original hangs in the Department of State. It was lost and then found, which Adair could tell you more about that. But
lost and found because of Tom Lea, our celebration of Tom Lea, and a State Department official seeing a presentation on Tom Lea's portraits and calling me up and saying, I think I found the one you all think is lost. It's in the closet.
Yeah. And so we actually have a replica of that portrait that hangs in our office. It's very large. It's life size or it's the same size as the one at the Department of State. And we're going to be bringing that with us to both events, actually. So it looks very much like the original. And so Tom Lea is connected via his portrait of Benito Juarez.
Right.
Of course.
He is. And that portrait was commissioned after Harry Truman went down to Mexico and laid a wreath on the tomb of the Niños Héroes, which was it was sort of a healing publicly of the Mexican-American War. And so it was in that the Pan American Roundtable, in it wanting a gesture towards Harry Truman in gratitude for visiting Mexico City, they commissioned Tom Lea to do this portrait. And he made an exception because normally he didn't paint portraits of people who didn't sit for him. He usually did portraits actually not for hire, but as a gift of admiration for a friend. So most of his portraits were done that way and were gifts, but he made an exception because he had so much admiration for Benito Juarez as a constitutional president of Mexico.
Absolutely here. So again, that's Adair Margo, the founder. Also speaking there, Holly Cobb, the executive director of the Tom Lea Institute. We're talking with them more here, of course, in the second hour about all of the very many events coming up here for the Tom Lea Celebration, again, the extended Tom Lea month. So we're going to be talking more about that, but we got to get to the end of the hour here. So stay tuned for more here on the El Paso History Radio Show, airing here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archive pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest.
Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan near Loop 375. Call 877-2152.
M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC 7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on YouTube. Listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archive pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest.
Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan near Loop 375. Call 877-2152.
M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, Invest in real estate. M1EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC 7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on YouTube. Listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest.
Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152.
M1EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC 7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on YouTube.com.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. We'll get back with our guest here that we have continuing on for this hour, talking about what is going on for the expanded Tom Lea Celebration, much more than just a month here. But first, of course, we start hour 2 of the program with a history moment from documentary filmmaker Jackson Polk.
Mount Cristo Rey is in Sunland Park, New Mexico, just across the Rio Grande from West El Paso. At its summit is a 29-foot-tall figure of Christ the Redeemer, the risen Christ. It was constructed by the people of El Paso's smelter town. The Catholic shrine was the vision of Father Lourdes Costa, a priest in Smelter Town, in the mid-1930s. He hired a Spanish sculptor, Urbici Soler, to create the Christ figure. Soler worked on the statue for years, while volunteers built the road up the mountain. Men moved tons of rock and dirt by hand, and by any means available for the road. Funds raised were used to buy dynamite to clear the path. Even earlier, wood and metal crosses were placed atop the mountain, and the faithful climbed the mountain to pray. As Soler worked on the Christ figure, partially carved limestone blocks were brought to the site by rail car, then taken up the narrow road by tractor. He worked for months using hand and power tools to finish the figure on the mountain. The statue of Christ was dedicated in 1940 by the El Paso Diocese, which included this part of southern New Mexico at the time. Hiking Mount Cristo Rey is an annual tradition for many people. The biggest pilgrimage is the Feast of Christ the King on the last Sunday in October. As many as 25,000 people will climb the mountain that day. Worshippers hike the 2.5-mile trail, stopping at the Stations of the Cross and shrines along the way. Catholic bishops celebrate Mass at the top, and the faithful light prayer candles at the base of the statue. In geological terms, Mount Cristo Rey got its start about 45 million years ago, when a core of molten magma pushed up an ancient seabed. Over the eons, that core has eroded away, leaving what we see today, an unmatched home for a figure of Christ. I'm Jackson Polk with this history moment for the El Paso History Radio Show.
I also have to mention that some of our great partners in El Paso history work, of course, the great Facebook group, Remember in El Paso, headed by Barbara Given-Baney, operator of it. So you can go there for archive pictures galore. They have more than 33,000 members, and it's no mean feat to keep such an operation of that size on task and on track here. So please remember, the administrators work very hard in putting forth the pictures with our history attached. When you use their photos, they do ask that credit be given to their site. And of course, Chief Admin, Owner, and Historian Barbara Given-Baney, affectionately known as BGB. Also admins Rick Duncan, Rick Nahara, Margaret D. Smith, and moderators Ben Vincent and Al Lowe. They're always looking for a few more good hands in helping them manage such a thing because, again, it takes a lot of work to keep it on task and not full of spam, which they do a very good job of. So if you want to find out more about them and what they do, again, Remember in El Paso when on Facebook here. But again, joined in studio again by Adair Margo, founder, and Holly Cobb, executive director with the Tom Lea Institute, and also now joining us here at the top of this hour by phone, we are also joined by Linda Chu, State District Court Judge. Thank you very much all for both sticking around with us and for joining us here today.
Thank you.
So we, of course, are talking about the many events coming up for Tom Lea, again, the celebration, not just a month. And there's some in particular that y'all are going to want to be focusing on as part of this year, including some of the, again, we've kind of hinted at it there, at the, Asian and specifically Chinese heritage in and around town, right?
Yeah. We invited Linda and her brother David Wellington Chu, who is he is an appellate court judge in Texas, and they're both very prominent and successful members of our community who grew out of the migrant tradition from Mexico, and they're going to tell us a little bit about that, their history, and what it was like for their family, to migrate and become part of the El Paso community. Is that right, Linda?
That's correct. That's correct. We're going to share stories about their grocery store, about my grandmother, Herlinda, and my grandfather, Antonio, and their 8 children growing up in El Paso and participating and being involved with this Chinese-Mexican community.
So it's an interesting kind of confluence there as the way we think about it. And something we're talking about during the break here is that, and something we talked about during the previous hour, is about how, there was, the sizable Chinatown in El Paso. And honestly, it's a question that I'd had for quite a long time about, okay, if it was sizable, what happened to it? And the real answer to it was, Adair, we were speaking about it, was kind of integration and kind of spreading out the community, that it's not, kind of to use a phrase I used earlier, siloed or concentrated in one area. It's throughout the community, essentially.
Linda, I remember, I think it was you who told me about your grandmother encouraging the Chinese people who came to our community to integrate instead of just staying together in a Chinatown. Did that come from you?
I'm not sure if it came from me, but I know my grandmother was very, she did want the Chinese community to immigrate. She worked a lot with, for example, the Southern Pacific Railroad, and worked with Mexican women who were married to Chinese men who had worked on the railroad, and helped them travel back and forth from China back to the States, particularly to El Paso. She also the family sponsored a number of Chinese to come in to El Paso and live and work and participate in our community.
Excellent.
Yes.
So the event that you all have coming up here, when is the date for that?
It's November 10th and Thursday evening at 5:30, and it's going to be at the Hotel Indigo. So it's going to be a lovely event in their 6th floor or 5th floor bar area, indoor and outdoor. And we're also going to have the Ah Wei Chinese School fan dancers who are going to perform before the talk, and their children who, as part of their culture, are learning various things related to China and the Chinese tradition, and they're going to perform a fan dance, and we're going to have a special commemorative cocktail and Asian-themed hors d'oeuvres. So it's going to be, again, a very diverse, wonderful evening, and of course, Linda and her brother, David, are going to be the stars of the event. So we're excited about this evening.
Yeah, definitely. Another dynamic sounding event here, like we keep talking about here. So, Linda, for your part then, I guess, what are you most excited about, if you could point out one part of it, about what you'll be, putting on or be doing as a part of this event coming up?
Well, David and I are anxious and excited about sharing our stories and our history. I think that the Chinese-Mexican connection on the fronteriza, on the border, is often overlooked. And I am so grateful and honored that Adair and Holly have recognized that, because sharing those stories and that history of that amazing connection with Chinese Mexican on the border, and sharing the story, sharing the history, is something that adds so much value and appreciation to this border. And certainly Tom Lea understood that, he recognized that, he appreciated it, and he gave it value. So we are really pleased to be able to add to that. And I'm thrilled that Adair and Holly have put together this amazing couple of months program that spotlights how Tom Lea understood those connections and the importance of those connections, and how we need to value that.
And did I hear correctly that beyond just the cultural and, the artwork connections, that you had a very direct personal connection, including being a neighbor of Tom Lea?
Yes, that's correct. We lived just a few houses from Tom Lea, and he was then the family has been wonderful. David established a connection with the family, and they have been very kind to us. So, yes, I live just a few houses from him.
So this is personal in a few different ways for you then, really, if you want to get down to it, because you are both talking about, the history of your family and that, but then also your direct personal in your lifetime connections as well.
Yes.
Oop, I think we're losing Linda a little bit there, but I think you said yes there, right?
Yes, I did. Indeed. Yes. Thank you.
Excellent here. So again, we've got a lot of these kind of events coming up here. So again, that one coming up in November. I think it'd be a good point at this point to mention about how people can, find out about the events, how they can register for the ones that they need to do so if they do require it as such here, and where they can find out all the details on that.
If you go to tomlea.com, just Google that, and our website will come up, and there's a button that says events, and press on that, and then all of our events are listed, and you can RSVP any event that you're interested in. We do encourage you to do it because the events do fill up. We often operate at capacity, and so don't neglect to register if you possibly can. We have people who call and beg us to let them in the event, the day before. Sometimes we have mercy on them and let them come anyway, but when
possible, sure, but not things like this where it's, we've got building space to consider here.
Yes, right.
One time I showed up and the staff said, "Have you RSVP'd?" I felt real guilty. I RSVP all the time now.
Yeah, I have sometimes said people telling me to RSVP to my own event, so I get that entirely here. So again, for those looking over on our social media, and again, the presentation here is again the full schedule going on. Again, some actually, I realized again, I spoke earlier, some already going on in September, including after, before. It'll already have happened by the time this edition airs here. But technically, you got stuff all the way on the calendar through April, right?
Right, yeah. We actually have scheduled several different events, usually one a month after December. And our first kickoff event is with Senator and former NATO Ambassador Kay Bailey Hutchinson, who's going to be coming and speaking at the McGoffin home. And we're going to be celebrating Joseph McGoffin's birthday with original recipe birthday cake. But Kay is going to be speaking about her book, Unflinching Courage, about early Texas women who were pioneers and influential in Texas history. And we're also going to have Ballet Folklorico performing, so another very robust event. But in April, we're actually going to have a student art exhibition, so we're working with all the high schools in the community for them to produce landscape paintings based on Small Man in a Vast and Wondrous World, and we've created lessons for students, our art teachers, to do in their art classes, and the students will submit their work. It'll be juried, they'll have cash prizes, and it'll be at the International Museum of Art, another good partner of ours, with a reception. And it's going to be very exciting to see students' interpretation of Tom Lea's theme, and they can do it in any medium that they want to. So we're really looking forward to that as sort of the close-off of the Tom Lea Celebration for this year and next year.
Yeah, because the way you have it listed here is Tom Lea Celebration 2022 through 2023, so spanning on there for a while here. Are there any of the other events that you're aware of, Linda, specifically that you're excited about to be able to go out and participate in as well, besides, presenting as you will be?
I'm looking forward to seeing Professor Chu, Selfa Chu. I have recently met her. She's done some amazing work on the Asian communities in Mexico and in the border. So I'm really looking forward to hearing her.
Again, there on the line here with us is Linda Chu, State District Court Judge here. And of course, joining us here in studio are Adair Margo, the founder, and Holly Cobb, the Executive Director with the Tom Lea Institute. We're talking more with them as we go on here. So again, Linda, thank you very much for joining us here by phone today.
Thank you very much, and I hope to see you at our presentation, Mr. Polk.
Absolutely. I'll have a lot of things I got to make it out to, so I'll definitely be making an effort myself to make sure I RSVP in time for this one as well here. But we'll continue our conversation. So thank you very much for joining us here by phone today, Linda.
Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, again, continuing on our conversation, got to take that next break right now. So coming out of this break, talking more about the many things I feel like we've only honestly just begun to scratch the surface of the many events going on for, again, the Tom Lea Celebration. Again, the full details over at tomlee.com again. But back after this break with more here on the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archived radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Baney, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest.
Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Donovan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Donovan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152.
M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on YouTube.com.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM, one of our further sponsors to remind you all about Mission Del Rey Southwest. You can go there with out-of-town visitors, your own friends, family, or looking for your own decor items or, again, food items, literal flavor of the Southwest. They have great souvenirs, jewelry, gifts, and decor items, great discounts, and a clearance area as well. But, of course, they have quite a lot of new stuff. The Native American jewelry, pottery, and clothing section. I'm always surprised by stuff I find there. And also just a whole lot of stuff you might find useful around the house, including quite the interesting set of cast aluminum furniture, looking like your kind of standard cast iron, but a lot lighter and a lot less likely to crush your foot if you drop it on there. Not that you should do it in any case, but in any case, you can find out a lot of the things they got out there. Mention the El Paso History Radio Show for a discount. Again, find them at their 12,000 square foot showroom on Lee Trevino and Pelicano, or look for them online at missiondelrey.com. They do ship internationally and around the world here. Give them a call for all those details. 915-440-2140. That's 915-440-2140. But again, joining us back here in studio, continuing on the program here today, we are joined by Adair Margo and Holly Cobb with the, of course, Tom Lea Institute and all the things that we are talking about for the upcoming Tom Lea Celebration, Small Man in a Vast and Wondrous World, Tom Lea's China, the theme for this year and the expanding beyond the month here. So we want to mention a couple of the other events that are very much related to, again, the theme here of it, China, and the influence of it here, including, again, speaking about flavors of the event here beyond just the artwork here. You're going to be having that event at Kinley's Tea House, talking about the significance of Chinese teas, right?
Right, yeah. The Chinese tea tradition is a very sacred and important tradition that signifies respect, forgiveness, friendship, that sort of thing. And Kinley Pon, who is also native Chinese, his family was from China, who owns Kinley's Tea House and Kinley's Coffee House, is going to be doing a presentation and offer a tea tasting with some, again, Asian, not hors d'oeuvres, but cookies and that sort of thing that go with tea.
Okay.
And so it's going to be, again, another wonderful event, something that you may want to bring the family to. Children, it's, much more experiential for children. And so we're actually filling up quickly on that event. Everybody wants to learn about Chinese tea, and Kinley's Tea House has very high quality tea. So you're not just getting the average tea. It's going to be very flavorful, and you're going to learn about distinctive flavors and that sort of thing and their significance.
I mean, yeah, the Chinese tea tradition, I mean, I've done a little bit of diving as I do on subjects here, but I mean, the fact that they could sometimes have, tea originating from plants that are literally older than this country that puts in perspective on the fact that, yeah, this is not even just very old and, long time, but ancient, literally, traditions as part of it here. And the way you can then actually taste that, it's unique in a way that it's hard to describe in almost any other circumstance, I got to say.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be a wonderful chance to expand your horizons. We really wanted to get kind of a micro and a macro look at the Chinese experience, both the history and the culture, as well as people's experience like the Chews, as well as people's experience like Kinley Pon sharing his tradition, which is Chinese tea. And then Selfa Chu, who's another professor at UTEP of Mexican Chinese heritage, is going to be speaking at the Archaeology Museum, and she's going to be talking about the Cantonese transnational experience and the culture of China that was brought here and then melded with the culture of El Paso and the Mexican culture. So it's really a focus on the cultural aspect of China, and it's things we don't hear about, but we need to understand the Chinese tradition and the Chinese people, just like we need to understand the wonderful Mexican and Latin American traditions that we have here in El Paso. Just makes us richer and better.
And we learn from it. One thing, Tom Lea, I did his oral history for UTEP, and in his studio, in his home across from Linda Chu, the Chews,
right.
He had pinned up the warriors from Xi'an, the Chinese warriors, the terracotta figures.
Right, okay.
And I think Tom loved them so much. They're so solid. There's the solidity of those figures. And Tom Lea was always mainly interested in form, even the form or the structure underlying the surface of things. And so he was very attracted to the tomb figures, the Chinese warriors. When I led a delegation, when I chaired the President's Committee on the Arts and the Humanities, actually the largest cultural delegation to China at the time with the Librarian of Congress. And I felt so equipped, not because I had been there before, but because I knew Tom Lea and I'd been in his studio and I'd seen things he was interested in, and I just learned so much through absorbing his experiences.
And again, kind of the focus that we're dealing with, again, not just the month, but the entire Tom Lea celebration that's going to be going on kind of already as this episode is airing, but continuing on through next year as well. So again, that's Adair Margo, founder, and of course also joining us here in studio is Holly Cobb, executive director of the Tom Lea Institute. Details on all the events we got coming up here, all the things we're talking about and beyond, tomlee.com. But we've got to take that next break right now. So back after this break with more here on the El Paso History Radio Show, here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show, streaming on Facebook, where you can find archived radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Baney, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest.
Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Donovan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Donovan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152.
M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. Of course, some of our great partners in promoting both history and even this program here, El Paso Inc. Make sure to get your subscription and find out about their exclusive and in-depth reporting going on every week. El Paso's business journal, El Paso Inc., is available for home or business delivery. To receive El Paso Inc., order it online or get, again, your online subscription, elpasoinc.com. That's elpasoinc.com. But again, talking today as we are about the expanded, beyond just the month, the whole Tom Lea celebration that we have going on, and a lot of events going on in and around town, but also some that are going on outside of town, pretty far afield here throughout the rest of the state. So what's that one that we have coming up? And that one is on, if I'm looking at the correct month here, will actually be October 12, make sure I got the right date here. October 22nd, rather, right?
Yeah, we
November.
We
right?
have a.
Is that November? Okay.
Yeah, we have an event with the LBJ Library in Austin in November on November the 15th, and it's called The Forgotten Prophet, Homer Lee and America and Asia. We also have another event where there's going to be a combat veterans exhibit of Tom Lea's art,
Right.
and that's also in Austin, as well as combat veterans art. But the Forgotten Prophet one is
Right.
going to be done in conjunction with the LBJ Library, because LBJ had a Tom Lea painting in the West Wing of the White House, and most people don't realize that he also had a painting, whereas George Bush had a painting in the Oval Office for 8 years. And so, two presidents had his paintings right there. And this talk at the LBJ is going to be done by Chase Untermeyer, former ambassador to Qatar and former assistant secretary to the Navy, a very learned man, very experienced in the whole diplomatic area. And it's going to be about Tom Lea's second cousin, Homer Lee, who was a very interesting character. Maybe, Adair, you can tell a little more about him.
Well, Tom said it was his uncle, his brother, his father's nephew, and his father, who was mayor of El Paso, was always interested in Homer. And Tom said that in his dad's study, he had this picture of Homer. So in his Chinese robes, he was a Stanford graduate. His papers are at the Hoover Institute at Stanford, but he had been dropped on the floor as a young child, and so he was hunchback. He was misshapen.
Oh, okay.
And but he became a strategist for Sun Yat-sen, and Sun Yat-sen, mayorally in his Western way, said, Homer helped them throw the Manchu emperors off the throne. He also said to Tom, he was always interested in Homer, but Homer wasn't so interested in the family. He said, "I've never met someone who's more conceited. I've never met more of a genius, but who's more conceited and had less time for his kinfolk." But he is an interesting man. And as I said, Holly, I have to give it to Holly, because Chase Untermeyer came to El Paso with the Texas Philosophical Society in February, and Holly sat next to him at our table and found out he knew all about Homer and would love to speak about him. So it's funny how these programs kind of unfold as if by providence. I mean, they're nothing we just kind of study about and then look for. It's like people fall into our laps who would happen to love to speak about one of our subjects.
Well, the thing that's fascinating about Homer Lee is that and the reason it's Forgotten Prophet is that he actually predicted and wrote a book about Japan invading the United States. And he was kind of, that can't be the case, but he actually predicted it. And
what they did during he's about the Japanese, what they did during World War II.
Yeah, of course.
He prognosticated what would happen during World War II.
Yeah, because of course at that point in time, I mean, sure, the U.S. had been involved in World War I, of course, from that perspective, known as simply the Great War. But the idea of the literal geographical boundaries, and of course the oceans on either side of this continent, separating it from either the wars in the East or the Old World, as it was considered that way, often made it almost unconscionable that of course nothing could ever touch continental United States or even our far-flung territories. How could that possibly be there? And that was part of the lack of imagination that led to, among other things, what happened at Pearl Harbor, because that would have been inconceivable. How could that possibly happen? Those kind of thinking here. So yeah, that kind of forward thinking and even that kind of abstract thinking about what could happen, very interesting. That'll be a very interesting one to see about. I don't think I'll be able to make it out to Austin for that one, unfortunately. But again, a lot of events that you'll be having primarily in town, but also a little bit far flung, right?
Right. Yeah. We like to do events along the Tom Lea Trail, which is 11 cities in Texas and 3 cities in New Mexico. And I think it's about 6 cities in Chihuahua now. We're the first really binational trail to span all not exactly okay. They're shaking her head.
No, I'm agreeing.
I'm
agreeing.
I guess her shaking her head no means yes. I guess that there is a culture that does that. Yeah, and anyway, so we aren't just about El Paso, although El Paso is the capital of the Tom Lea Trail, because Tom Lea loved El Paso and this region. He was very much a binational citizen, though, of Mexico as well. So not literally, but in his heart, he definitely was.
And Holly mentions the Tom Lea Trail, but she has been working very hard. Just tell them can you tell them real quickly about what's happening with the Texas Historical Commission?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to be the 11th trail on the Texas Historical Commission's. They have kind of a mobile app called Texas Time Traveler. We're going to be the 11th trail, the Tom Lea Trail. And so we're working with all of our sites in Texas to develop kind of an app, so to speak, that will be premiering next year.
Oh, excellent. So looking
The
forward to that.
first one in how many years? 12 years?
10 or 12 years.
With new technology and everything.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
That'll be great here. So again, mentioning some of what's coming up here and the events out of town here, but you even have some in specific areas of town, including a couple events that'll be happening specifically on Fort Bliss, right?
Right. Yeah, we love our Fort Bliss soldiers, and so every year we try to do events with them, and so we're doing actually two events. One is having families make Christmas cards using the same technique that Tom Lea used, because every year he would print in the old-fashioned way Christmas cards and send them out to his friends. And so we're going to utilize those Christmas card images as inspiration and tell them about Tom Lea, and then they're going to actually get to print their own Christmas cards.
Oh, wow.
And and then we have another event for the Soldier Recovery Unit, which is very, very important, victims of PTSD, and they're going to, and they know it's therapeutic for them to paint and do art and that sort of thing. So they're going to be doing their own landscape based on Small Man in a Vast and Wondrous World with Tom Berkner, who's a professor of painting at UTEP. So those are two special events for our soldiers that we love so much at Fort Bliss.
Absolutely, because of course, I mean, a lot of Tom's work, at least some of his most publicized anyway, but even the stuff that we're talking about specifically with the lens of China here, I mean, it was often around conflict or kind of in some cases on the cusp of it, or showing what exists beyond it. But so the involvement of those that are in combat or have seen it or recovering from it, very much, I would say, pretty central to a lot of his work. I think it would be pretty fair to say.
One of the last works he did was General Ernie Roberts had asked artists to commemorate soldiers who had gone to Desert Storm under George Herbert Walker Bush. And Tom Lea, he was old at the time, but he said if one came and posed for him, someone who had been there would come and pose in his uniform. And that's why Texas A&M is on our Tom Lea Trail, because the cadets bought the drawing for that painting. So you're right.
And Tom Lea writes about that experience, and he said that the soldier still had sand from Desert Storm in his pockets, and when he pulled his hands out of the pockets, sand spilled onto his studio. So he thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Use that in painting, I'm sure, in painting the sand.
Right.
Absolutely here. So this, again, just more of what we were talking about here with, again, the upcoming, again, all of the celebrations for Tom Lea, not just the month, but going through well into next year, as a matter of fact. And so we're going to talk more about, of course, the significance of Tom's time in China, the reason, again, for the selection of that particular theme here, as well as kind of an overview and how people can get involved with it. So doing all that and a whole lot more as we come back from this next break here on the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in the pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show, streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Baney, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano, and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest.
Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152.
M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC 7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on YouTube.com.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. Been talking a lot over the course of the past 2 hours, give or take, about what is going on for the upcoming, again, not just month, but the full Tom Lea Celebration going on through next year and going on already as this episode is airing here. So again, joined here in studio by Adair Margo, founder, and Holly Cobb, executive director with the Tom Lea Institute. So there's at least one other event that you wanted to mention coming up here, you wanted to squeeze in, that is one of the ones going into next year, the I Love El Paso event happening in February, right?
Yeah, it's an annual event. Basically, what we do is interview a power couple. We've interviewed Dee and Adair Margo, Rick and Ginger Francis, and we did Rick and Bobette Lang, president of Texas Tech, last year. And it's a different interview from what they experience. Usually, it's very personal. It's about their marriage, their relationship, their family, and how do you balance being a power couple with your personal life and having a successful personal life. And it's remarkable how transparent all these people were. And when I emailed Dr. Wilson about I was wondering whether she would want to do this or not, because she's a very powerful woman and has been a congresswoman and that sort of thing. And she and I said, it's a very personal interview. We're not talking about your time in Congress or as the Secretary of the Air Force,
right?
And we're talking about your marriage, your family, your children. And she immediately responded and said, "Absolutely, I'd love to do it." And so she and Jay are going to do it, and it's going to be at UTEP. And we've got several different wineries and breweries, like Dead Beach Brewery, La Viña Winery. And we also are going to have a new addition, which is a Sotol distillery in Mexico, who's coming up.
Okay.
So it's going to be a tasting and with charcuterie, and so it'll be a lot of fun. And young professionals particularly enjoy this event very much.
Yeah, they're wonderful. Holly has great experience, in interviewing people. We have our own I don't know who is on TV now, who interviews people on national TV, but Holly does a great job and kind of hits at things that everybody deals with in their lives. So it's a very beneficial program. And Progress 321, this group from El Paso of young progressors, they call themselves. They co-sponsor it, Holly?
They co-sponsor, and they're young executives and professionals come out for it, especially. But we have a lot of young professionals who want to hear the inside scoop on these people's lives. So
Right.
it's pretty interesting.
Okay, and so of course that'll be one of the events going on again as part of what you're doing for the entire Tom Lea celebration. But getting back to the core of the theme here again, Tom Lea's China, the focus that you all are having this year. And there was a further point that we were talking about how much Tom Lea's time in China seemed to have a big impact on him personally, and of course, his body of work from then on, right?
Yeah, but I think so. I think also it reinforced kind of when Tom Lea was young. I mean, before he went to war, he had gotten a fellowship, and it was called an artist microcosmography. So the whole concept, and he got a fellowship, a Rosenwald fellowship. He declined it so he could go to war. But it was about a microcosm, but within a macrocosm. And he had this sense, he had a universal kind of sense of mankind and his place in the world. And so he was just a very profound individual who sensed the wonder of life. He said that to me one time. He said, we live in this wonderful place made by the Almighty, and I don't think most of us realize it. And so I think he tried to communicate that in his work, and we're trying to share it, through the Tom Lea Celebration.
Of course, here, and again, the expanded from the Tom Lea month here. So, I mean, for those that are familiar with this, they may have gotten the, sense and idea of, all the things that go along with all of the events and the ways that you all display it here. And a lot of it is not just, the focus is on Tom Lea. I mean, it's the named part of it here, but it's often, through his eyes and the influence and the everything surrounding the works. So it's much further expanded on it there. But for those that may still be like, okay, I'm not familiar with this idea, getting the idea of it, but, what do you tell someone who says, well, why should I go? Not that anyone ever comes up to you directly and says, why should I go to your event here? But if you were talking to someone about, what is the importance, why you would encourage people to go, what do you say to them?
Well, because you're going to be enriched and you're going to have a wonderful time. It makes the perfect date night, the perfect girls' night out. I'm not going to say it's the perfect guys' night out because there are no golf balls or target practice involved, but it is a wonderful, wonderful experience that you could never have otherwise. Plus, you learn about the community and learn to appreciate this region like never before, because Tom Lea was the master guide to the history and culture and beauty of this region, without a doubt. And one thing that, you asked the question, how did China impact Tom Lea? And this is his impression of China, which I'm reading from our brochure here. Tom said, but something I know, when I am on the other side of the earth, the days I have spent in China will rise up in memory always. The rest of my life, I will know China's grandeur and squalor and China's power. And I think that was a very prophetic and profound statement. It never left him. And he also learned how to do Chinese ink, beautiful Chinese ink, and he got an ink, I don't know what.
As a left-handed artist,
yeah.
yes.
And he could do calligraphy, Chinese writing with a left hand, which is very unusual.
Yeah, because the progression of how you write there.
And his signature, is influence. I would only add what I've heard over decades from people who have come to the El Paso Museum of Art after we named the Tom Lea Gallery, and they walked in and would first be greeted by someone from our region, Tom Lea, in the context of other artists of the region. But I heard over and over again, I cannot believe you all have an artist like Tom Lea from El Paso.
very special treasure in a very, very important way. We're going to be looking at all of that, again, coming up for the Tom Lea Celebration going on well into next year at this point. But again, people can find out all the details, everything about it, by going to tomlee.com. And again, you have the full schedule of events up there, including all of the links to the Eventbrites there, so people can find out all those details. So again, joining us here in studio, we have had Adair Margo, the founder of the Tom Lea Institute, as well as Holly Cobb, the executive director there. Thank you all very much for coming in today to talk to us about all the events, all of the details, and all the things you all are going to have going on for this, again, more than a month here today.
It's a pleasure, and thank you for having us, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Greatly appreciate all taking the time here so we can talk further about that, but that's going to do it for our show here today. So thank you everyone who did tune in. We'll, of course, talk more about the upcoming things with this and, of course, with the many subjects here in El Paso history. So thank you all for joining us. We'll see you all next week here on News Radio 690 KTSM.